Did you guys see this video of Sonya Massey when she calls the police for some assistance to her home? Trigger warning, check this out.
Okay. You're at one task at a time, so let's do an ID, and then you can dig around for your paperwork.
I don't know where my ID is.
You see that stack right there, maybe?
1 second.
Check on her. We don't need a fire while we're here.
Alright.
Huh?
Where you going?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I was rebuking you in the name of Jesus.
Huh?
Rebuke you in the name of
Better fucking not. I swear to God, I'll fucking shoot you right in your fucking face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the fucking top!
So what are your rights in this situation? Should, God forbid, you have an interaction with the police department that goes awry? Hopefully it doesn't go anywhere near as badly as this situation does. But what if the police, in your opinion, act badly or break the rules or the law? What are your rights? What should you do under those circumstances? Let's talk about that. Well, you've got two main rights that you can take advantage of and that you should take advantage of if something like this should happen to you. The first set of rights is criminal in nature. The second set of rights are civil in nature. Let's talk about each independently. We'll start with the criminal. As a private citizen, when you have an interaction with the police department and it goes the wrong way, you have a right to an investigation. You and your family have the right to request a thorough investigation of the situation to involve internal affairs, district attorney's office, or an independent agency should you choose to utilize that. So if you get information that you don't like and the result that you don't want, then you have these types of rights that you can take a look at just to make sure that things were done the right way. Secondly, you have the right to testify. So you have a right then to provide testimony with regards to anything you think is important for the powers that be to make decisions as far as what should happen to an officer under these circumstances. So you have a right to testify and give your specific accounts as to what happened and what you saw. Last couple of things. You have a right to a fair trial. In a situation like this, where an officer has violated rights, right? We're hoping that the district attorney does the right thing in terms of charging the officer with the appropriate crimes, as in this circumstance. At this point, the family's remedy, quite frankly, is to hope, pray that the state does the right thing, right? That they're charged with significant enough crimes at a high enough level and then convicted of these crimes such that this action provides justice for the family. And I think even more importantly than that is a deterrent for other officers in future to make sure they don't use deadly force when it's completely unnecessary. This officer had an opportunity here. He didn't have to draw his gun. He had a taser that he could have used. The other officer was not in any jeopardy. You saw the video just like I did. If the officer would have just slowed down, not drawn his gun, even tasered the young lady, she would still be alive today. But instead, he chose to escalate it to somewhere it should never have gone. Shooting someone in the face, not even in the leg or the arm, shooting someone in the face 3 times? That is absolutely ridiculous.
Illinois State Police released body cam footage showing the final moments of Sonya Massey's life, the Springfield area woman who was fatally shot by one of the responding deputies to a 911 call she made. Massey called 911 because she thought an intruder was in her home, according to the lawyer representing her family.
We checked the yard, we walked around the whole block, we didn't see anybody.
Sangamon County Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson and another deputy responded to the call around 12:50 a.m., authorities said. The deputies searched the property and found no intruder. The deputies then asked Massey to check on a pot of boiling water on the stove.
Check on her. We don't need a fire while we're here.
Alright.
Huh?
Where you going?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I was rebuking you in the name of Jesus.
Huh?
Rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
Better not. I swear to God, I'll shoot you right in your face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the top! Drop pause. I'm gonna go get my kid. No, get headshot, dude. She's done. You can go get it, but that's a headshot. God damn it. God. Dude, I'm not taking boiling water in the head. And look, it came right to our feet, too.
Grayson has been indicted on 3 counts of first-degree murder and a count each of aggravated battery with a firearm and official misconduct. The Sheriff's Department has fired Grayson. At his arraignment, Grayson entered a not guilty plea and was denied pretrial release, according to court records.
Justice is going to be meted out very, very quickly because that officer, there is no question that he crossed the line. If you go back and see this officer's history, it looks pretty doggone bad. While I haven't done extensive research, it looks like he's jumped around to different police officers, and officers with good histories typically don't take that type of action. So we're gonna see what happens with this when they start to investigate his character, his past, his history, and something tells me it's gonna be pretty flagrant with regards to ending up in a situation like this that probably never should have happened. Now that we've properly covered the criminal side of things, let's turn to the civil, and let's discuss that a little bit with regards to what are your remedies there.
I don't think that looking at that tape with my old heart from before 2022, I had quadruple heart bypass surgery, and I suffer from congestive heart failure. But I don't think my old heart could have taken this.
The only remedy that's available to him is monetary damages. In a situation like this, when you've got a family member or a group of family members that have lost someone in a situation and circumstance like this, my heart goes out to him. Those laughs and times that you had with that person, they're done. There's nothing in the future to address this situation. All they're gonna have is memories and what you can do as a lawyer to try and bring justice to a situation. And that's where we get into the civil part of the law and the remedies therein. Let's go through them. Okay, first and foremost, you have a right to file a civil lawsuit in a situation like this. Again, hopefully you never have to, but you have a right to get compensated first by the officer, then by the state, and by supervisors for his actions that day, for the lack of training, for the fact that this situation should never have happened. You and your family have the right to file a civil lawsuit against the officer and potentially the police department or the municipality for damages as related to this situation and circumstance. Right to seek compensatory damages. These compensatory damages that you would seek in a suit of this fashion come in many different forms. So let's quickly run through them so you have an idea as to what you would be looking for in a circumstance like this. Medical expenses. Was she taken to the hospital? Did she incur expenses with regards to the cost of trying to keep her alive and revive her? Lost wages and pain and suffering. Again, in the situation, she's not going to work anymore. So again, you've got a wage claim for the rest of her life, for example. Pain and suffering. Did she endure and go through any pain as she was sitting there bleeding to death on her kitchen floor? One of the things I would potentially be claiming is that I can no longer live in this house, right? And so as a measure of my damages, the family can no longer use this house because, again, walking through their kitchen is something they never want to do again because that's where mom got killed. So now I want to add in the value of that home potentially because of what the police department did that day in taking away that family member. Here's the big part of what we're looking for in terms of damages. The punitive damages as related to this case. So what does punitive damages mean? It means that we want to send a message to this police officer, to this department, to police officers throughout the country. You can't take this type of action. And we want sufficient damages to be awarded in this case such that the message is received loud and clear. Hey, if you shoot someone in the face, it's going to cost you $30 million, for example. That's something that an officer, a police department, training systems, for example, should take notice of with regards to the fact that, hey, officers, when you go to someone's house, don't use deadly force when it's not necessary, like this officer did. Just as an example. Right to claim for wrongful death. If the shooting resulted in death, your family has the right to file a wrongful death claim seeking compensation for their loss. In this situation, mom, sister, granddaughter is never coming around anymore. Pursuant to that, the family member, they have claims with regards to, because now that person's been taken away, the estate that she's leaving behind has certain claims, and this is one of them. That would be certainly substantial if you can prove that the officer's conduct was grossly negligent or should never have happened under any circumstances. Okay, governmental accountability. The right to governmental accountability. And this is important, guys, because many times in circumstances like this, you have an officer that is clearly doing the wrong thing by shooting someone when they shouldn't. What many times happens is those police departments, they try to distance themselves. Hey, this wasn't us. We don't condone. This should never have happened. And they try and distance themselves from the officer's actions. Well, we as lawyers say, no. This is your officer. You trained him. You produced him. You create a circumstance where this situation happened and should not have. This is your fault for not keeping an eye on him, for not properly training him, for not making sure something like this didn't happen. And you failed to do that, resulting in loss of life. So in that circumstance, we want to bring that governmental entity back into this lawsuit right next to that potential defendant, because we want to hold the government accountable for these actions. We want to make sure that we send the message, hey, you're training these officers, you're certifying them, you're sending them out there on a normal basis. You need to make sure that those officers that you put in on the streets to protect citizens are truly doing their jobs and protecting citizens and not shooting them when it's absolutely not necessary. And clearly the government failed to do their job here. Okay, so hopefully now you have a better understanding of what typically happens when these shootings occur and what your rights and remedies are from a criminal perspective and from a civil perspective. While I certainly hope that something like this never happens to you, I can tell you it happens all the time. While I run my own law firm, I am a partner with the Ben Crump Law Firm. Ben has to deal with these types of tragedies all the time. And I can't tell you the number of sleepless nights I know that he has because he has to sit up with these families and deal with the funeral arrangements and how do we deal with this time after time, because officers take the law into their own hands when there's absolutely no reason for this to happen. My hope is that we hold these officers criminally responsible and we put these bad apples behind bars. My secondary hope is that these police departments throughout the country are taking the time to slow down and see what it's costing them financially in terms of the millions of dollars, because I guarantee you, Ben is going to get millions upon millions of dollars for this family. And they need to look at this, if not as a socially responsible situation in terms of the responsibilities government has to citizens, but just from a fiscal responsibility. Gosh, this is going to cost us $30 or $40 or $50 million to get settled. What if we put $5 million into training and checking on our police officers and our training process and educating our officers with regards to what's acceptable and what's not? I am certainly hoping that we see more of these types of situations where departments and states are more responsible and they're more proactive with regards to slowing down, training officers, doing proper background checks, and ensuring that when the officers are going out to the scenes, that they're in the right mind to handle situations and circumstances like this. I am supremely confident that as we, as lawyers, keep hitting these governments over the head with these big judgments, that they're going to hammer into their officers' head, you can't do this anymore. This old cowboy bullshit of how things used to be is not going to work for us anymore. Treat people with respect, go and do your job, leave there safely, and society at large will be much better and healthier because of it. Now you know what I think and what I feel, but what about you? What are your thoughts? Has your family been affected by a situation like this? talk to me about any issues that you've encountered. I'd like to hear your feedback and your comments with regards to this situation. If it's been helpful to you, share it with somebody else. Let us know what you're thinking, what you're feeling. With that being said, my prayers go out to the Massey family as related to this situation and circumstance. I'm attorney Darren Miller. Hopefully you never have to call me with an issue of this nature. But if you ever do, give me a shout and we'll do what we can to help you and your family. And until next time, this is DLAW.